Metal Slug.
We're going to talk about a game that really needs no introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to talk about Metal Slug on the Neo Geo MVS. Metal Slug, it's one of those games that really holds a special place in my heart because it was released in 1996, which was right around the time that the arcade scene was really losing its popularity in North America. At this point in time, developers were all moving away from 2D because of all the big 3D push. Games like Daytona USA, Virtua Fighters, and many more were basically like the kings of the arcades in this point in time. And it was really cool to see something like this come out because it was just so gorgeous and so different than everything else that was, 3D polygons and this and that. Now, I need to mention that this game was actually created by a company called Nazca Corporation, who were actually a small team of developers inside Irem that broke free in around 1994. And it's interesting because this developer, we know that they made the original Metal Slug trilogy and Neo Turf Masters, but we don't know too much else. Like, what happened to these guys after they were absorbed by SNK when they went bankrupt? What happened? You know what I mean? Like, we don't really know the whole story with this company, and that's okay. All we know is that they made one of the very best Neo Geo video games of all time. So what makes this so great? Well, it's the mixture of humor and action, and in my opinion, it's never felt quite as good as what this series does. It's just amazing. Contra, while a phenomenal game, led to a wealth of clones, and none of them were really ever able to match its brilliance until Metal Slug came along. Nazca took what they had done before with other run-and-gun style games and took what Contra did before, but they really mixed it all together with really tight gameplay and this over-the-top ridiculous humor. It was like going to see a B-movie that knew it was cheesy, and aren't those the best kind of B-movies? Vehicles are able to jump, enemies make the most ridiculous faces and screams when they get shot, and the background animations are both hilarious and gorgeous. It's all classic stuff. The gameplay is also extremely fun and challenging without ever coming across as cheap. You have access to a wide assortment of powerful weapons like a flamethrower, heavy machine gun, and the rocket launcher. You've also got grenades. You can also get really close to your enemies and do a melee stab attack with your knife. It just goes on, and even after 18 years, the gameplay holds up incredibly well. It's not just the gameplay either, it's these gorgeous audio visuals that really stick with you long after you play the game. Number one, all of the environments are pretty much destructible, and you're going to have to do it too, because that's the only way you're going to rescue prisoners of war, get bonuses, or get power-ups. But the thing is, just look very closely at these visuals. It's the little touches, like Marco's breath, or just like the way enemies might not be paying attention to you, the way they'd be talking to one another, or the way that the backgrounds will have different levels of scaling. It's just all these different things really make this world feel so much more alive than the other run-and-gun games of the day that were on other consoles. The music is also very well done. The soundtrack contains quite a few really catchy tunes. And since we're talking about Metal Slug here, I absolutely have to mention the co-op. I mean, everything is better with co-op, am I right? Today, most people have been spoiled by online co-op, but nothing will ever quite match having someone right beside you swearing at you and just sort of ragging on each other as you just continuously die from the non-stop stream of bullets. And I miss those days. There's just something really special about that. Now, not everything is phenomenal in Metal Slug. There are periods of slowdown that occur, although they're really manageable. They're not too ridiculous. I'll talk more about that in Metal Slug 2. But something else that I never really quite liked with a lot of SNK's run-and-gun shooters are the fact that you do not have the ability to shoot diagonally. You can only shoot up and forward and behind you. But the make up for this in the slugs, those are the one slug in this one where you can, it's sort of like a tank that jumps and all kinds of crazy stuff. That you can actually, you can diagonal shoot. There's also a turret that's on the final stage's barge of a ship, and that too you can diagonally shoot. But it's always been weird why your main character doesn't have that ability, because it would make the game a lot easier, but perhaps that's why they did it. Overall, Metal Slug is a quintessential Neo Geo game. For many fans, it's just as important to the platform as the King of Fighters, Samurai Showdown, and a number of other fighting games. Personally, this is the one game that showed me what the Neo Geo was all about. It was about taking chances, doing things others had done before, but tweaking them in such a way to make them feel unique and original. Metal Slug was just the beginning of SNK's premier run-and gun series, and where they went from here was just as over the top and crazy as this game. Metal Slug remains a game you can pick up and play at a moment's notice, and if you invite a buddy over, watch the time just fly by. For more on Metal Slug on the MVS, be sure to check out the full written review at projectcoe.com.